So the first question is how to meditate and why meditate?
Well, why should you meditate? Why do people want to meditate? Besides that they hear they should meditate, because that's how I started. I said, okay, they say you should meditate, so what to meditate on? This is how I started. I had been doing prayer before because I was a Baha'i before, in the Baha'i faith, and I'd studied Sufism. So then the question came, how to meditate? And the easiest thing for me was, well, my breath is always there, so I focus on the breath. This is just naturally, no one told me naturally what came. So I started focusing on the breath, and then I heard these sounds in my ears. So I started plugging my ears and listening to those sounds. And then I felt these currents in my spine. So I started focusing on the currents in my spine. So for me, that type of meditation is ideal. Traditionally we have two main forms of meditation, either meditation with form or meditation without form. And without form is considered a little more advanced. Most people need some kind of form because the mind has a hard time to conceive of something without form, and the mind works in form, so it generally needs some kind of form in the beginning to focus on, whether it's a spiritual teacher or a guru or a god, whatever deity, whether it's form of Divine Mother, Devi, or whether it's Vishnu or Shiva or Jesus or whatever it may be. So those are forms. That also can include just meditating on a candle or meditating on a rose. Those are considered types of meditation as well. And the other is without form. Technically, the breath is basically considered without form. And listening to the sounds is without form from within. And feeling the pranas in the spine, the life energy, that's without form. Or looking at the spiritual eye and trying to see the light of the spiritual eye. So that's without form. And for me and for people who follow, like, for example, Kriya Yoga, which I practice, the life energy in us is the best form of meditation, and the breath, because that is connected to the Absolute, to God, and by focusing on that, you can generate bliss and peace and regenerate, do healing, and find the divine presence within. So the other way to meditate from the philosophical point of view is meditating on the Absolute, the Infinite, as Brahman or as God in the absolute sense. So that takes a little bit more of an abstract sense. So the mind has been going out since the beginning of time, because the universe is projecting outward in its expansion from singularity, and the mind is also manifest from that, not just our individual mind, but the collective mind. And in Indian philosophy, there really isn't an individual mind in the absolute sense. There is the universal mind. So we are an expression of the universal mind, and it's outgoing. So you can say from the beginning of this manifestation of the universe of about 13.8 billion years, technically, the mind has been going out. Or if you just do it from the time that the first animals arose, I think it's like 3.8 billion years. I can't remember, 2.8. It's something around 3 billion years. I forget now. But it's a long time. So, and in this lifetime, your mind's been going out since however old you are physically. So if you think you can sit down and meditate once and gain control of the mind when your mind's been going out for me, like 60 years, that's not very practical. and a fair assessment. So you have to practice every day. The mind is naturally going out, going out, going out. So we want to withdraw it back within. It goes out. It takes the form of the objects. We forget our true nature by becoming identified with this world that is in change. Become identified with these things, whether it's relationships with people, other people, or with things, and seeking ourself in those things and seeking our own sense of happiness in those things. We forget ourself, and that is suffering. So we turn the mind back within to come back to our own self. So practice, 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 and live a life that supports it.
In that sense, what is Kriya Yoga? What is that?
Kriya Yoga is a meditation practice. Babaji, Mahavatar Babaji, revived it in the 1800s. He said that when we entered into the Dark Ages, that all the higher practices of meditation, such as Kriya Yoga, were mostly lost. They were maintained just by like yogis in the Himalayas or yogis who were not engaged in much in the material life. Some yogis preserved these things, these practices. He said in the Dark Ages, what in India is called the Kali Yuga, that our consciousness goes to the level of gross materialism, and we forget that there are higher realities. We don't have that ability to conceive of it. And I mean the general populace, not everyone. So it's the center of gravity of the collective consciousness of humanity. So when our consciousness goes to that level, then we can't conceive of more abstract practices, and we need to take the name of God or take mantra, like mantra japa, or praying to God in the form, whatever form suits you best. So he says in the Kali Yuga that mantra japa is the main practice. Taking the name of God is the main practice for humanity. And now we're entering into a higher age, because you can see, he says, Swami Sri Yukteswar, the Guru of Yogananda, said that in that next age, that's the ascending age, is called the Dwapara Yuga, that there are 5 different types of electricity, and it's the age of technology. So the fact that we've discovered one type of electricity and we've entered into an age of technology shows that we're in an ascending age. And Babaji said it's time to reintroduce practices like Kriya Yoga. It's a practice of it's a pranayama, practice to gain control of the life energy, or to meditate on the life energy that's in us. The life energy supports the mind. The prana is the support of the mind. So we're kind of going in the back door to gain control of the prana, to gain control of the mind. So it's drawing more prana up the spine, focusing on the energy in the spine, of the life energy that moves through the central channel of the spine, energizing the spine with awareness, with more life energy, drawing more life energy up to the spiritual eye, and seeing the light of wisdom within the spiritual eye. And by that we are able to gain very quick control of the mind. It's a specific pranayama technique that has come just with Kriya that Babaji gave. It's not, you don't find it in the scriptures of India. You find some of the practices we give to get people ready for Kriya in the scriptures of India. They're considered the highest practices in the scriptures. But Kriya Yoga is not in the scriptures. Nowadays, many people call many different things Kriya Yoga, and if it's not, Babaji gave this specifically to Lahiri Mahasaya as his mission to spread in this age. So from what we can find, if it didn't come through the lineage of Lahiri Mahasaya, it's not the same thing. You can call all sorts of things Kriya Yoga, and they can be very good things, but they're not what we're speaking of. And some people have some parts of the first Kriya, but there are higher Kriyas that they know nothing about.
So would that mean that if I want to learn it, I can just go to a teacher? I cannot.
Well, the teachers have to be authorized by someone, a guru who was authorized. So it's handed down through the lineage. A person is not supposed to just start teaching it unless they've been authorized through the lineage to teach it. And it's not something we teach without initiation. We teach the beginning practices when people become stabilized in their meditation practice. It doesn't have to be these specific, like Hamsa and Anahata Shabda, but something similar. If they're, the main thing is we want to know that they're really going to practice before we give them Kriya. Because Kriya Yoga to us is an advanced practice and it should be held sacred. It's not common knowledge like, we have today. People think that they should be able to know everything and read into a book and it's all free knowledge. We don't believe that's how all knowledge works. Some knowledge is to be held in a sacred way. It's not to be part of the marketplace.
So it requires an intense guru-disciple connection.
Yes, it needs guidance.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're not doing some pranayams, if you're not doing them properly, they can actually harm you if you don't know how to do them.